All right. I got to adjust this microphone. We're going to start here in just a few minutes. Whoa. We're going to start in a few minutes, but I wanted to get everything set up, make sure we're going live, because as you know, if you're following along, a couple weeks ago we had some issues, and I don't want those to happen again. So we'll formally start here in about 4 minutes. Let me get us into a presentation mode here. Glad to have so many of you with me. If you can hear me, give me a sound check here. It will start in 3 minutes. If you can hear me loud and clear, please let me know. If you don't mind putting in the chat, no, we've got several of you with me already before the start time. Just put in the chat that you can hear me loud and clear. I may need to adjust my own microphone version here. Test. All right. I hope everybody's doing great. We have an amazing topic we're going to be talking about today with private auctions. Again, we'll get started here in just a few minutes, but I just need a couple people to give me a mic check and tell me they can hear me loud and clear. Again, a couple weeks ago we had some issues, and I don't want to see that happen again, so we're doing that. This is the time we're going to get started here, so appreciate it. We got 2 more minutes. Wow. So remember, with being on the Livecast, you can actually ask questions as we go along. Oh, good. Monica, yes, can hear you. Wonderful. Justin, sounds good. Awesome. Thanks for being here, Justin. Thanks for being here, Monica, and several others that are too shy to say hello. Please come say hello, because we're going to get started here in 2 minutes. Because we are excited about auctions. If you've done anything with private auctions, we're talking about private auctions here, please put something in the chat there. I'd be interested to see if you've done anything, because we're going to get in detail. You may have some questions on it as we go along. William, how you doing, man? Glad you're with us today. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time. Again, we'll get started. Maurice, you've got the best last name of anybody I've ever heard. Check it out, guys. All right, who else is with us? Give us some shout outs here. We're going to start in 1 minute. We are going to start right on time. We do this every week, 4 o'clock Eastern, not 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is 4 o'clock Mountain or 3 o'clock Pacific. Excited to be with you guys. Rayo on 1, loud and clear. Fantastic, appreciate it. I'm just checking my watch, guys. As soon as the timer beeps, we're going to get rocking. So hang in there with me. We're going to dive into private auctions. Again, if you've done anything with private auctions, please put that in the chat here. Be really interested to know. If not, you're going to walk away with some good info today, especially with some of the things that are going on. It's a great way to find properties. All right, let's see. Got another minute here, then we're going to get going. I hate starting early because we can't jump into it until the allotted time, but I want to make sure the technology is all working. So we're gonna get going. All right, everybody, we're gonna start. Ready or not, here we come. Private auctions. That's our topic for today. So what you're gonna walk away with at the end of today is you're gonna learn the difference between private and public auctions. There's a major difference, and one that will make a huge benefit in your real estate investing. You've probably heard, and most people have heard about public, but don't understand private auctions or what the difference is there. So you'll see the private auction companies I've used to buy deals fast, how to bid correctly so you can actually get deals, how to flip private auction deals for maximum profit. So this show's for entertainment purposes. Before you make any moves, financial moves, consult with real estate professionals, attorneys, CPAs, experts in subject matters. Everybody's situation's different. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. There's no guarantees. DHM may receive payment from sponsors, guests, remunerations, giveaways. As with anything in life, results come from education, following a system, hard work, and determination to follow through to the end. All right. Quickly, let's do a review of last week. If you didn't join us last week, go check it out on YouTube. Finding deals through estate sales. So you can just type it in, just estate sales in Do Hard Money, and you'll see that'll come up. Why estate sales should be part of your real estate investing strategy. How to find new estate sales to visit. How to create win-win situations with the new property owner. What to say during your follow-up to actually close the deals. Those are all things we talked about last week. So if you missed it, just go over to YouTube and type in estate sales Do Hard Money, and that should pull up for you. Looks like we've got somebody, American Eagle Renovations. Good with audio. Fantastic. Glad you're with us. If you're joining live, please comment. If you haven't already, give me your first name and the city that you're investing in. So let me know the city you're investing in. I tailor some of the content, and we'll give you some information in the following weeks as well, having to do with it. If you're watching this recording, please join us Tuesdays, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You watch the recording, but the live, you can actually ask questions along the way. And I want to help you get what you need out of these live casts. So when you're here, when you're live, it makes a big difference. And shout outs, if I get your name wrong, I'm really sorry, but please, again, put your name and where you're investing in here. And I love to take questions, and I build trainings around those questions. So please keep the questions flowing. William, New Jersey, thanks for being here. Thank you for your comments. Your comments have been great. Keep them coming. What you can do is after we go live, the video gets posted within a few hours, and then you can just go onto YouTube and you can just put a comment, give it a thumbs up. If it's been valuable to you, please do that. Steven said, loved it. David Santiago said, I am here. Maxie, New North Carolina, state of North Carolina. Bronson said, Logan, Utah, go Aggies. Love it. Thanks for giving some shout outs. William, Bill, Southern California. All right. Southern California's in the house. I wore my short sleeve shirt just for you. Let's see here. Jamie, North Carolina. Fantastic. Appreciate you being here, Jamie. And Carlos Garcia, Woodbridge, Virginia. Fantastic. If you like these live casts, and you want to see them continue, I really need your help. We've got 4,101 subscribers. I think we're 4,010 subscribers as of today. My goal is to get 150 more by July. So we've got about 140 more to go to hit the goal. So please subscribe to Do Hard Money on the YouTube channel. If you're not, please just subscribe to it. Just go to Do Hard Money. If you're not a subscriber, go subscribe now and put it in the chat. Just saying I just subscribed. Leave a comment on the recorded video. It makes a major difference for us. And please give the video a thumbs up. It really helps us. And tell somebody else that you know. So if you want to see those happening, let's keep them continuing. Do those things to help us out. Okay, Larry Hicks from Indianapolis. Larry, glad you're here. Thanks for being here. Let's talk the housing forecast. So the worst is behind us. So the Federal Reserve last week suggested the worst of this economic crisis may be behind us. That was according to Yahoo Finance, quoting the Federal Reserve. I think that's really important to know as real estate investors. And we're seeing a lot of demand right now with houses and offers. Retail sales have jumped 17.7%. Yes, retail sales on real estate has jumped 17.7% in May amid the COVID-19 pandemic. So obviously there was some pent-up demand from the month before, but that's coming up. But the headline 17.7 versus expected was 8.4%. So they were expecting 8.4% increase in retail sales, and now there was 17.7. And let me clarify, this is retail sales. This isn't real estate sales. Retail sales, so buying stuff at the consumer stores. And negative 14.7 in April. So for April was negative 14.7 people buying stuff. They were expecting to have 8.4% in May. It turned out to be 17.7%, more than double what they were thinking would happen, which is really good really good for us to know basically where consumer confidence is. People are spending money. Activity started to recover more quickly than we and others had anticipated, is what Yahoo Finance was saying. Retail sales bounced back far more vigorously than expected in May. Recession is over. The COVID-19 recession is over, says economist Zandy, as May job losses not as bad as feared. This is according to NBC reporting. So that's fantastic. Estimated for May was 8.75 million job loss, and it was only 2.76 million jobs that were lost. So I think it's really helpful to know, to put things in perspective on that as to where we are. Recession is over. The job loss is abating. Layoffs appear to have peaked in late March and early April, and they're winding down by early May. As Andy said, I would expect job growth to resume in June. Which is really good news. A couple of shout outs here. Will, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate it, man. Eric in North New Jersey, thanks for being here. Mortgage demand jumps 18%. This is one of the most interesting statistics we've seen this last week. Mortgage application numbers get stronger each week as home buyers rush back into the market, hoping to get their hands on what few homes there are for sale. Another record low mortgage rate didn't hurt. Mortgage demand jumps 18%. That is amazing. Fantastic. Let's see here. Jim, subscribe from Chicago. Jim, thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing. The real estate market heats up. Housing demand is 25% above pre-pandemic levels. Housing inventory is starting to improve, still not keeping up pace with demand, meaning there's not enough houses that are out there. Redfin CEO Glenn said seasonally adjusted demand for housing during the week of June 1st through June 7th was 27% above pre-pandemic numbers. So this means we have 25% more demand for houses than we did prior to COVID-19. So this is saying a lot. Kellerman says that bidding wars have caused listings to move quickly, and sales prices are up 3.1% year over year. So we're actually improving in prices. That includes the time that COVID happened. So that's all of 2020. Prices have gone up 3.1%. We're starting to see bidding wars. Interest rates are at all-time lows. Housing demand is there. So a good recipe for real estate investors. The key to this is finding deals, which we're going to talk about here through private auctions. So mortgage demand jumps 18%, and we talked about that. So it rose from 5% for the week, and we're stunning 18% higher than a year ago, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. 2020 home sales. Original pre-COVID forecast showed 1.8% decline in homes. Number of transactions. New forecast shows 15% decline in homes. It'll be interesting to see if this actually holds true, because we're seeing a whole bunch more demand that's coming. And this is some of the metrics to kind of watch. This is 2019 actuals, 2020 original forecast, and 2020 pre-forecast. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's see here. Granbury, Texas in the house. Mr. Babby, appreciate you being here. Okay. This is consumer confidence. If they were more likely or less likely to purchase a house before or after COVID. What's really interesting here is very few are less likely or less optimistic. And I think that's shown by seeing the 25% increase in demand and 18% increase in mortgage demand. So inventory constraints. One issue buyers will face in these markets is the inventory constraints. Consider the number of new homes for sale was down 45% year over year in April. Sellers will continue to hold off listing their houses given pricing challenges. That is changing because we're seeing prices actually start to increase, which is great. Median home prices for existing home is expected to hold steady at just 1.1%. However, for so far year to date, we're at 3%, so we're outpacing what we've got there. Okay, Eric just missed out on one of the biggest deals I've ever seen. Home went through private auctions 4 times before selling, and they're looking at no less than $150,000 equity. Oh man, Eric, you missed out on it because you didn't get the price. Somebody else outbid you, and you missed out on $150,000 of equity. Am I reading that right? Private auctions. Great. We're going to talk about it. Thanks for bringing that up, but I'm really curious how you missed out on it. Rayo on one. I'll finish following through with DHM. I was skeptical for a while because it seemed spammy. How do I seem spammy? But you're the real deal, laugh out loud. I appreciate it, man. I understand there's a lot of information out there, so we're here to help, and you're welcome to come to these live casts. Move out of big, expensive cities. We're seeing this when buyers go shopping. Could also shift the wake of coronavirus. So basically what we're seeing is we're seeing people going out in and not being in the major cities, but going to the metropolitans. I'm seeing that here locally. One of the things that's interesting in those metropolitans is you can actually get USDA loans. The issue is you don't want to be in the sticks. There's got to be a big enough population there, or it's got to be close enough to another big city. So that's an important thing to keep in mind here. So, but we're seeing this happen. So making some investments a little out of the area that you normally would, where there's going to be lower pricing, there's going to be more demand. That's one of the things Realtor.com is saying that we're going to be seeing. I got to grab a drink. Okay, the other thing, this is more housing predictions, but we're seeing that increase of 1.1, but we're already beating that at 3%. Inventory will remain low. We're seeing that. Mortgage rates under 3%. We're seeing that as well. Constraints by low inventory. We've got to get that fixed. We've got to get more properties on the market. So, consumer confidence. We've talked a lot about consumer confidence, but people are excited about the future. They're spending money. So let's quickly jump into some COVID-19 updates. Rayo, I'm finishing following through with TH. Oh, okay, we got that. Eric, no money. You didn't have the money. Eric, you could. That sucks. You got to fix that. You got to get the money. Find the money. If you haven't, we have a lot. Go listen to some of our live casts where we talk about 0% interest, or we've got some deals on structuring deals. I don't know. We'd love to help you out. So, okay, COVID-19 update. Just a quick update on some things we're seeing with COVID that I wanted to point out here. So, U.S. daily infections. This graph right here is the testing, and then this graph down here is the estimated infections. So you see it's been coming down, and they're estimating a slight increase that we're seeing. So projections go down in August. September numbers are starting to go back up, which is kind of interesting. Again, this is a forecast, but I'm seeing that as well. Hospital uses, you can see, are coming down for the U.S., but we're seeing it start to come back up in September as well. And I don't know if that's just seasonally. They're thinking kind of like the cold's going to get worse in the wintertime, or if they're seeing some pent-up demand here that's happening, so up in October. So something to keep in mind. Destin Jackson in North Carolina was with us last week. This is hospital uses, so we're not seeing that uptick projected for North Carolina. So a little bit of the same trend, but not as dramatic down in July, a little bit up in October. Larry Hicks, if you're here, please say hello in Indiana. We had somebody else here in Indiana. Who is it? Indianapolis. Oh, Larry. Yeah. Hey, Larry. You are here. Hospital resources, you can see there's a ton. This is what they have in hospital resources, and this is where they're currently at. You don't see an uptick in October, which is good to see as well. Again, that's a forecast. This is daily infections you can see coming down here. You don't see an uptick a little bit like you do with the rest. Again, that's a forecast, and leveling off come September. So I think that's good. Juan from Texas, if you're here, I think we had another Texan in the house. Come on, who was that other Texan? We should have seen you coming. Who is it? I can't find it. If you're here, oh yeah, Mr. I don't know if it's B-A-B-B. So hospital resources, you can see the same thing here. There's a lot more hospital resources than what they need. There's 28,634 beds and only 955 in use. So that's great news there. Daily infections and testing. We are seeing an uptick in September here as well in Texas, which is following the United States as a whole. Let's see. Things get very, very low in June, July, minimal, August, down to nothing. But we are seeing September start to happen, and you are going to see some lagging factors as long as there's no second wave. Okay, there's certainly a lot of deals like that in my, okay, let's see. That's what's driving the sales here in my little rural area. Yeah, that I agree, Eric. There are lots of little deals like that in my area. Absolutely, Larry. Yeah, sorry, I found you. BBC, first life-saving drug wildly available. Whoa, what just happened? Let's see. Well, that's fun. I clicked on the wrong thing. Okay, so first life-saving drug wildly available. So I don't even know how to say this. drug proves first life-saving drug. Cheaply and widely used drug helps save lives of patients seriously ill with coronavirus. The drug is part of the world's biggest trial, testing treatments to see if it works for the virus. And the drug had been used to treat patients in the UK from the start of the pandemic. Up to 5,000 lives could have been saved, researchers say. So that's really good news. New York Post, Chinese coronavirus vaccination trials show promising results. The new data from China, where the vaccination candidates delivered results to monkeys, was able to generate the same response on human volunteers. So it means they did that trial, and now they're moving into the trials in humans, and that seems to be working well. So a lot of great stuff for that. The good news, hospitalizations have steadily decreased in the biggest coronavirus hotspots, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Illinois, and Louisiana, which is fantastic news. Recovery, those who recover from COVID and then test positive a second time don't seem to be infectious, which is fantastic news. So what does this all mean? We're going to see lots of opportunities. So make sure you find a really, really good deal, especially right now. You may have to hold it a little longer, although results recently are not having to hold longer. They're moving quickly. You must be the best priced home. It's got to be in the best condition. Those houses always sell no matter the market, no matter the interest rates. I mean, when I got started in real estate, guys, interest rates were 9%. 8.5%, 9% was a good rate. One of the guys here at the office locked in. He got 2.6% on a USDA loan. So fantastic rates. Okay, in the end, real estate, there's always money to be made. In every single market, you have to find the right niche. That's really what it comes down to. So some of our COVID investing rules is find that really, really good deal. Stay under the FHA limits. What does that mean? Just Google, what is the FHA loan limit? Because the majority of buyers are going to get an FHA loan, and there's a limit on that. So you want to make sure you stay under that FHA loan limits, and you also want to be around the median and average price range for your area. I'm more concerned that you don't go over the FHA limit than I am that you stay in the median or average price range for your area. Look at moving outside the expensive areas like we talked about. Eric on the chat's been saying that they've been seeing that as well. Find the worst home in the best area and then turn it into the best home. So now we're going to get into the private auctions. So if you've got some questions, chat them in there. I'm going to grab a drink and we're going to go private auctions. All right, we're going to talk about private auctions. So here's what you're going to learn today with the private auctions. You're going to learn the difference between private and public auctions. You're going to see the private auction companies that I have actually used to buy deals. And actually my most profitable deal that I've ever done came through a private auction. How to bid correctly so you can actually get the deals. How to flip private auction deals for maximum profit. That's what we're going to be talking about. So let's just start with this whole idea. What is an auction? So typically an auction is when a house is being sold in a bidding situation, meaning the house will be sold to the person who says, this is the highest price that I am willing to pay for the property. There's a few different types of auctions. There's an absolute auction. This will sell to the highest bidder no matter what. This is pretty rare when it comes to real estate. There's reserve. It will be sold if it meets the minimum reserve. And so this reserve is typically not disclosed to bidders. So there's a reserve and they're waiting to see if it goes over that amount. If it does, then they'll move forward with it. Ways that you can bid with auctions. You can bid online, you can bid in person, you can bid over the phone. It varies based upon the auctioneer's rules and who actually conducts the auctions. Things that are auctioned, obviously cars and equipment and personal property and real estate are all things that can be auctioned in an auction type situation. So there's two types of auctions when it comes to real estate. There's public auctions and there is private auction. And there is a big difference between the two of these. I've purchased properties from both public and private auctions. So let's kind of start by talking about what a public auction is. This is typically the result of a foreclosure action. So this means the house is being auctioned by the trustee or the court to the highest bidder. Now, with this, there is a reserve, and the bank is the one that sets the reserve. And the bank's reserve, they can typically set it for their loan amount. They can set it for lower than their loan amount if they want to. It just means that's all that they're going to be required to get out of the property. The bank can have a starting price and they can bid against others until the reserve is met. So for example, a bank may be owed $100,000 on the property, but they may want to have people show up to the sale. So they may start the bid at $50,000 and then they will bid, somebody can bid 60 and they bid 65 and somebody bids 70 and they bid 75. So they can drive up the price until they hit what's owed to them. Or they can let it go for less money, and we'll show you how they can get insured against that here in just a minute. This is why banks are willing to sell properties at discounts. The highest bidder will get the property. That's just how that works out. Now, foreclosure auctions, the laws are going to vary state by state, but typically you must have $5,000 to $10,000 cashier's check. You typically make it to yourself, and then you'll endorse it over to them the day of the auction. So you endorse the check over when you're the winning bidder. And in most cases, you're required to have cash, not a loan, meaning your own money in your own bank account, and have that within 24 hours to pay the balance or to pay the difference. The sales are typically at the courthouse steps. So, and when I say courthouse steps, I literally mean courthouse steps. One of the properties I bought was outside on the public curb on the sidewalks is where they conducted the auction. So courthouse steps, the first time I attended, I was shocked. The attorney flipped over a trash can, set his papers down, and they started the auction. This one was actually in Salt Lake, and it was actually inside, but it was just, as soon as you went into the rotunda, it was just right there, and you would have walked past and missed it. It was just a couple of guys, and a guy in a suit that flipped a trash can over, threw his briefcase down, and said, we're going to hold a public auction for this property. The second time outside on the sidewalk was the other one. So it's not in some nice room. It's typically just out in the open. Now, again, we're talking about these public auctions. This is what we're talking about here. Now, the second type of auctions that we're talking about is private auctions. So this is a private company or a private seller is going to auction. It doesn't mean it's by invitation only and you can only be invited. They really want anybody to come there, but it is private. They could turn people away if they chose to. They're not going to. So it's not like a private invitation. Anybody can go to it. It's just a private company that's conducting the auction is all that it means. It's not a public sale, meaning it's not part of a legal due process. So private auctions, this is typically a bank that wants to unload lots of properties that they took back in foreclosure all at once, or they just have inventory that they need to get rid of. It may be because they want to lighten their REO load, which stands for real estate owned, or real estate loaned. So the O stands for owned. And so lots of times when they are dealing with banks, they have requirements. So banks are required to only have as much REO taken back, REO on their financial balance sheet. So if they have too much, they can get themselves in trouble. And I actually bought a house. The bank actually did the foreclosure, and then the bank called me because I was working on a short sale on the property and gave me a really good deal to purchase the property because they had an audit coming up and they had to get it off their books. And so they actually seller financed it for me at a really good interest rate. So if they get too much, they can be in violation. So they will fail an audit and lose the ability to lend more money. So it's important. And banks now have what's called stress tests, which means if they go into a difficult time, they can make it. And so they're being audited against that and doing stress tests to make sure they can survive it, which part of that is not having too big of an REO balance sheet. Okay, this is an important point that a lot of people don't understand is this idea of mortgage insurance. So on most loans, banks are insured on the majority of losses. FHA provides mortgage insurance to ensure the bank does not lose money. Same with VA and other types of loans. So borrowers pay for this monthly or they pay what's called upfront mortgage insurance. And basically what that does is that money gets paid in. And if a bank takes a loss, then the money in that pool, kind of like an insurance policy, pays them. Now the bank's going to take some loss, but the majority of the loss, if it's insured like this, will get paid out and the bank isn't going to suffer a loss. So if they sell that property that they owed for, they did a loan for $100,000 for $50,000, they're going to get an insurance payout for the difference in that, and they'll only suffer a small loss instead of a large loss. So this money will pay the bank if the loss are taken, and banks are motivated to sell the properties, lighten their load of REO properties, and the banks on their financials. So this is true of these private auction companies. So private auction companies, banks and some private sellers hire a private auction company to conduct an auction. So these auction companies, here are a few of these, and you're going to want to jot these down. If not, you can go back and do the replay on YouTube. So Hudson and Marshall, this is their website. They are a private auction company. Williams Auctions, it used to be Williams and Williams, and is now Williams Auctions. Auction.com, Concierge Auctions, Kate Auctions, Hubzoo, Property Auction, bid for assets. Just do a Google search, check all of these out. Some of them are going to work in your area, some of them aren't going to work in your area. You can even just do a Google search for real estate auctions, check them out and see what you can find there. You may find that one does a lot in your area, another one doesn't do as much in your area, but you can just find out what's there and check out some of these. And it's important that you go back often and keep looking and see, because there may not be anything and then something pops up. So typically with private auctions, you are going to get full title insurance, and that's a big difference. When you're dealing with a public auction, there is no title insurance. I've seen people at public auctions that bid on a property thinking they're buying the property, but they're buying a second lien, and they then have to go back and foreclose on the property, and they lose the money they put into it. Like, you've got to be very careful. But with a private auction, you've got to make sure you're getting full title insurance. Also with a private auction, you typically get the opportunity to go inspect the property. Sometimes you have to inspect the property before you make the bid, and other times you'll have the opportunity to inspect the property after you make the bid. The downside to having to do it before is you're going to spend time and money to make sure that property's in good shape, and you may not even get it. Whereas if you have an inspection period after you're the winning bidder, then you can get your contractors or inspector in there and not spend the money up front. So that's really important to keep in mind when you're doing this. Is you need to find out with a private auction, do you get full title insurance, and is there an inspection period before or after? Because you really would like to have it after, because you are going to have to put up some cash or some time. You typically have 30 days or so to close on the property, which is really good. So it gives you the opportunity to get financing, which is another thing that I didn't put on here. But if you're getting financing, typically with private auction, you can get financing, you can get a loan. Whereas in a private auction or in a public auction, you aren't able to get a loan. You actually have to pay cash. And when I say cash, it's your own money in your own bank account. Okay, let's talk for a few minutes about auction hype. Okay, be very careful when bidding. Keep in mind the bidding company has people to bid against you and drive up the price until the minimum set, and this is legal. So there's people that are literally planted and they're in there just to bid up the price, and they can legally do that because the bank has a minimum. So it gets the frenzy going. Hey, we're going to start the bid at 100,000, 100,000, 102, 105, 106, I got 110, I got 120, I got 130, right? That type of stuff is happening either because the auctioneer is giving the bid for the bank, excuse me, or because there's people that are planted in there, they're representing the bank legally to bid the price up. So you've got to realize that. So there's lots of hype. I have been in these and I've had my number and I've tried to go over my number. You've got to be very careful. It's like, oh, another 1,000, another 1,000, another 1,000. Then all of a sudden you overbid by $10,000 and end up with a property and your profit margin isn't worth it. So you've got to be careful. See the property before the auction, or make sure you have an inspection period. Determine your rehab costs, okay? So you know how much it's going to cost you to do the rehab. Determine your final bid price. So you determine this is the number I won't go above. If it's $1 more, I will not bid on it. So make sure that you know what that price is and you say, I won't go over this bid price. The way you can do that is by running your comps. And you can use all of our comps training, how to pull comps and that type of thing. And you do it by getting your rehab bids, which you can go through those things as well that we have. And then you determine what your final price is based upon your profit margin using the advanced deal analysis. Don't go over it no matter what. Most people will overpay on properties in auction. Don't be that person. It's going to really stink if you overbid on a property and end up doing a whole property, making no money, but putting all the time, sweat, equity, all this type of stuff and not making money. So you want to be careful with that. Okay, subject to bank approval. Most of the private auctions are actually subject to bank approval. So even if you're the highest bidder, you may not get the property, meaning the bank has the final right. So you might win the bid and be the highest bidder, but a few things can happen. It might not meet the reserve, which they may know right then, or the bank may have to get approval. So lots of times banks will put them on these private auctions and say, sure, put these properties up there and then give us the top price and give us a couple of weeks and then we'll determine if we want to sell or not. So you've got to be careful with that. So don't, just because you were the winning bidder doesn't mean you're actually end up with the property. So don't count your chickens before they hatch or go in there and start planning on doing work to the property, because lots of times it's subject to a bank approval. And the bank will have a couple of week or two to approve that property. Okay, action steps you can take. Look at those above auction companies that we talked about and find if there's properties that are in your area. Google and find state or regions where auction companies are for your specific area. Check weekly, it should say weekly, for new properties that are on their sites because they come in all the time. They change regularly. I just put in your calendar, hey, every Thursday at 2 o'clock, I'm going to check. Once you close, it's a typical deal. So you get the deal, you get your loan, your rehab, you get the property sold, just like any other deal. Nothing else changes once you acquire that property. It just is a regular fix and flip, or you can turn it into a rental or do whatever you want to do with that property. Okay, guys, if you missed last week's Livecast, first off, questions on private auctions, please throw them in the chat here. Ask questions. It's one of the benefits of being here live. If you missed last week's Livecast, finding deals through real estate, through estate sales, go back and watch it. It's really worth the time. Go to YouTube, type in Do Hard Money. While you're there, remember to subscribe to the channel like a few of you have done today. Please like the videos, leave comments. Okay, what you missed last week was this, the estate sales and how to find them, how it should be part of your strategy, how to find new estate sales to visit, how to create win-win situations with property owners, what to say during your follow-up to close the actual deals. Okay, if anybody's interested in this, you can get a free copy of a purchase contract at template.dohardmoney.com/purchase-contract. Actually, I should send that out to you guys, which I'm going to do right now. So if you want to get a copy of that, I'll send that in the chat feature here as well. Please, if you have questions about about private auctions, please type them in the comments here. So one of the things that I also want you to type in is let me know what you want to see for future Livecast. Do you want to know wholesaling? Just type any of these in. You want to know wholesaling, reverse wholesaling, determining repair costs, coronavirus investing, how to analyze rentals, wholesaling remotely, choosing good contractors, seller financing, contractor bids, determining rental prices, business partner deep dive, preparing yourself to buy cash flowing properties, how to make offers without seeing properties, auction properties, closing a deal, all the players, sales skills, negotiating the kitchen table, subject to deals or something else. Anything you want to hear, please type it in the chat here and let me know it's something you want to take a look at, and we can look at putting it in one of these live casts. So please type that in if any of this interests you, and get a copy of our purchase contract. Get a free copy of that as well. Also, if you're looking for some more information, please go over to YouTube, share it, but also check out my podcast, which is Income Hacker. We put out a podcast every single week. If any of you are Income Hacker listeners, love to have you put it in the chat feature here, because I'd love to talk to you. Okay, next week, let's see. Next week, 6 o'clock, we'll be having another live cast, so please join us for that. In the meantime, download the Do Hard Money purchase contract. Okay, Jay said, dude, we just need all of those. LOL. Jay, just hang in there with me. Come each week and listen to the live cast, and you can get more information that way as well. Larry Hicks, how to analyze rentals. Fantastic, Larry. I'll put that on the list as well. Anybody else? Some things you want to hear for another upcoming live cast? Please type it in the comments here. If you're an Income Hacker listener, let me know. Just wherever you listen to podcasts, it can be iTunes, it can be Stitcher, it can be Spotify. Whatever the case is, just type in Income Hacker, and you'll be able to check out our podcast. So that's what we've got for this week. Questions, if you have questions on private auctions, please type them in. Or if it's something you're interested in doing and you're planning on doing this as part of your investment strategy, please let me know as well. Love to have that in the comments. I'll be there definitely trying to learn everything as fast as I can. Great, Jay. Appreciate you being there. Appreciate you being here this week as well. Other questions on private auctions, please type those in. Otherwise, go take an opportunity to get a copy of the purchase contract, dohardmoney.com/purchase contract, and get a copy of that as well. Otherwise, we will plan on seeing you same time, same place next week, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we will be there. Thanks, everybody, and make it a